It is all on the line. Steelers versus Ravens. Winner wins division and goes to the playoffs. Loser goes home and has to think about it until next season. We'll break down this and why this is the ultimate test for a run defense that is truly improved. But if they want to prove it for real, they've got to do it here. We'll talk about that for the Steelers. I'm Chris Carter. This is the Locked On Steelers podcast. We got Jenna Harner on today. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things on the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of our daily Monday through Friday episodes. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. And a reminder, Locked On Steelers podcast is now the #1 sports podcasting network in the world. Shout out to them for being great hosts for our show. And a reminder, this show today is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook in America. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app, and you'll see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll have more on that later. As I said before, we're joined by the amazing Jenna Harner from Channel 11 WPXI. She's back from Channel 11, and we're happy to get her for the first time in 2026.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everyone out there. Now, Jenna, a big thing for this team, when the Steelers lost last year in the playoffs and earlier in the regular season, as they started their downtrend at the end of the year, they lost twice to the Ravens, where Derrick Henry crushed them, and the rushing offense of the Ravens ran them over. They made it their call to improve was to get better at this part of their game, the run defense. They drafted Derrick Harmon. They drafted Y.A. Black. They added guys like Malik Harrison. They made it their charge to be better against the run. And they weren't initially. They were getting crushed by teams like the Jets and early on. But as the season went along, they got better and better against the run. And things that I've been pointing out, we've talked about for a while, Derrick Harmon has been a big presence of that. They go from allowing the least amount of yards per game in the NFL when he's in, the most of the yards in the NFL when he's out. And then even on a per play basis, the Steelers allowed 3.5 yards per carry when he's on the field versus 4.5 when he's off. That's a difference from the best rushing defense in the NFL to 25th in the NFL. And on top of that, these last 3 weeks, Jenna, and one of those games without Derrick Harmon, they have allowed the fewest rushing yards, the fewest rushing yards per carry, and they're the only team in the NFL to not allow a single rushing touchdown. Of course, those 3 games come right after their win over the Ravens, where the Ravens did get over 200 yards on the ground. Jenna, do you think that the improvement in this run defense is real and that it can come forward in this game? Or do you think that this has kind of just been up and down and that this might all come down flat on the Steelers' run defense this week?
I do really think that they've figured things out, and I do think that they've shorted up at the point of the season where they needed to, and at the point of the season where physicality means absolutely everything. Talking with how many guys in the locker room earlier this week, they said this game is going to come down to winning those battles in the trenches, and whichever team is the more physical team is going to be the team that wins this game. So to me, that's going to be a massive, massive factor here.
Taking our time here as we're all fighting through the cold times.
Coming back. The dry cough is real right now, so apologies for having the cough drop as I'm doing this right now. But okay. To me, the Steelers' run defense has no doubt been trending upward. And again, this has been something that Terrell Austin, the first time we talked with him after they lost to the Ravens in the wild card game a year ago, said, we have a Baltimore problem. And how much did we hear that kind of consistently all the way through this offseason? That's why they drafted Derrick Harmon. That's why they drafted Y.A. Black. That's why they put so much emphasis into this area of their game, because when you're facing the Ravens twice a year and Derrick Henry did what he did a year ago against them, that's going to be a massive factor in, hey, this is how this Steelers team is going to look to build. And that's what they did this offseason. It's been so funny, though, because watching watching the Ravens when they played the Packers this past weekend, watching Derrick Henry, and I know, of course, they had to simplify a little bit of what they do because of the fact that Lamar Jackson was not in the game. But I was watching that saying, why haven't the Ravens been doing this all season long? Because when you give the ball to Derrick Henry, we saw what happened. So, and I also say with pause too, that Green Bay, I don't even know if they had enough defensive linemen or linebackers to field a team by the end of that game, just with how many guys had already gone down with injuries or went down with injuries in game. But the Steelers know how big of a test this is this week, and this is a massive focus for them. And I do think they're primed for it. I think they're much more primed than they were a year ago in this area.
Absolutely. I think they're playing so much better. We saw throughout that season that they got worse against the run week by week throughout the season, and it kind of got exposed by several teams at the end of the year. This time, they faced some top end. They faced Devon A-Chain of the Dolphins. They shut him down. They faced Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, shut both of them down for 15 rushing yards, their lowest on the season. And even earlier in the year, they shut down Jonathan Taylor, and that's something that Joey Porter Jr. pointed out when we talked to him on Thursday in the Steelers locker room. It's not just Derrick Henry and the linemen. It's not just Patrick Queen. It's everybody. And Joey Porter recognizes that, talked about, making sure to be aware of when they try to crack blocks that open up things on the outside, which some of the Bills really did to them very well. Listen to how he talked about it, and then also how excited he is to get back Brandon Eccles into the fold. He's now practiced for 2 days in a row heading into Friday. Here is Joey Porter Jr. in the Steelers locker room this Thursday.
Joe, we've heard TA talk about crack replacement and the responsibilities on the edge that come into you guys as the cornerbacks. What do you guys have to be alert about how the Ravens try to use that against you to pop open their option runs?
Just be technically sound. That's the main thing we've been working on this whole week, of just seeing our keys, reading the high hat, low hat, and just reacting and fitting. And if we do that, then it's going to be an easy ball game for us.
You guys have allowed the fewest rushing yards per attempt, and no rushing touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. Is there a sense that, this is the test that proves that you guys have started to put things together in the run defense?
I feel like we had tests throughout the weeks just with the great backs we faced in the past couple of weeks. My guy. Yeah, this is another great opponent, another great back duo that they got. 26 and 34 have been emerging throughout the week, so we just got to stay on top of those guys and do our job.
So if Brandon's back this week, what does it do for you guys as a secondary and as a defense as a whole, defending the multitude that the Ravens throw at you?
It's just going to be a great opportunity for him to get back in the mix. He missed a couple games, and it just gives us some more flexibility for the back seven. We've got a lot of guys that went down or that's going through some things, and we've been plug and playing and next man up mentality, and we have the horses. But, just to get another horse back in the stable is going to be good for all of us, really help us with our legs, and just another great guy on the field.
So there's a lot there from Joey, but I think he talks about, a lot of good things. I think it's really interesting when you talk to this team about them facing the Ravens. There's a sense of hey, this is vital, this is important. We know it comes down to this week, but there's not a sense of I don't get a sense of over eagerness or a sense of where they're stepping out too far on this. Or that they feel like they're on edge. They seem very much within themselves as they talk about this situation. And I think Joey Porter's strike is hey, we've stopped good run offenses before. We've stopped good running backs before. This is another test. And when I talked about crack replacement, for those who don't know, that means when a wide receiver tries to crack block or try to smash a cornerback inside on a block, what crack replacement is when the defense recognizes, hey, the cornerback's being pushed inside. Someone has to get outside and make sure that edge is maintained. Otherwise, the sideline opens up, and that's something that the Bills did a lot to the Steelers just about a month ago. But Jenna, hearing what Joey Porter's saying, it just seems like I think this team is very focused and knows what they have to do going into Sunday night.
And it doesn't feel like they're searching for answers here. I feel like this time last year, when they were in the midst of that, 5-game tailspin that ultimately ended the season, there was a lot of, we don't know what the problem is. We're just trying to correct it. We just have to, it doesn't feel like there's that sense of, the sky is falling type things. And maybe I'm being a little bit dramatic. It wasn't to that extent last year, but there is just this calm of, hey, we didn't get the job done last week, but we have a lot of confidence that we can get the job done this week. I feel like that's kind of been what I've noticed from a lot of the players in the couple of days that we've talked with them throughout the course of this week here in the locker room. I also think when you look back at the games earlier this year where they were able to really limit really good run games, i.e. the Dolphins game, the Lions game, you go back to the Colts game too, the Steelers built a really solid lead in all 3 of those games and forced all of their opponents to be very one-dimensional in those situations. I think that's going to be a massive part of their game plan this week too, is they're going to look to get out to a little bit of a lead. So you have to force Lamar Jackson, who does seem like he's going to, or who is going to play based on what he's been saying this week and what he came out and said on Thursday. But you force them into those one-dimensional situations where they have to pass the ball. Lamar has to create with his legs and do what he does. And I think that will very much limit what Derrick Henry can do. The best offense for the Steelers, or the best defense for the Steelers, is going to be keeping their offense on the field because of the fact that Derrick Henry just will not have the ball in his hands.
I agree with you. It's a big step to the game. We still got the offense to talk about. No DK Metcalf, we know, but who will be back for them? We'll go over the injury report. Also, looks like TJ Watt. Does he play this week? We'll talk about all of that in a bit. But of course, we got to get to our Week 18 picks here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, Jenna Harner, stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I want to remind you that this show is brought to you by Robinhood. Nobody knows your money goals better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of your money with tools that work as hard as you do, locking in on every opening, beating your personal records, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks, the ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all in one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood's Legends advanced tools. Or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, so expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, Jenna Harner, talking all things Steelers. But as always, we got to get to our picks this week. So we go to our picks. And before we do, we got to get an update on the Locked On Steelers Pick'em League. We are at 350 plus people that have been participating all season long. Number one right now is N Sprizzle 43. They have 177 picks correct. Next up is Blitzberg with 175. Jenna Harner, you're tied for fifth right now at 172. You are 5 games back from first place this year. I am a lot more than that. So that being said, let's get into our picks this week. And I guess everyone should just want to hear what Jenna picks because she's the one who's been right all season long.
I don't know how. Truly don't. Truly do not.
But all
I've had confidence in the Bears. That's actually, I think, what my strategy has been this year is having early confidence in the Bears.
You did, and they have proved you right more times than not throughout this season. Let's get to our picks here, but of course, we got to give you all our odds, ends, and lines. Brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Go to FanDuel.com to sign up. More on them later. Let's start with Saturday night. Or Saturday afternoon, I guess. Panthers at Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are 3-point favorites in this one. They're at home. This is for the NFC South. All the marbles. Jenna, I'm going Panthers. I may be crazy here. I'm looking for the upset, and I think Carolina, they've been playing a bit better of late. I think that they find some answers here, and they get the dub. What say you?
I go back and forth with this one because this feels like two teams that just don't. Well, I shouldn't say that. I feel like the Bucs just have been slipping so much, and I feel like just when Carolina gains a little bit of momentum, they falter a tiny bit. I do have faith in the Panthers, though. I'm going with the Panthers in this game. I don't love it, but because the Bucs are at home too. But I think Carolina gets its first division title in how many years? I don't know how many it'll be, but I think Carolina comes away with a win here.
I'm right with you there. They beat the Buccaneers just a couple weeks ago. We'll see if they can keep that up. Let's move right along. Seahawks at the Niners, Saturday night football. Why couldn't this be the Sunday night game? It would have been really nice to not have to be at Akron. Sure, I'm not complaining. But let's get into this game. This is for the 1 seed in the NFC. Winner gets to take the bye and gets to make sure that the NFC goes through them. Loser drops down to the 5 seed and misses out on that opportunity. FanDuel has the Seahawks as 1.5-point favorites on the road against the 49ers. I'm riding with the Seahawks. I love what they've been doing this year. But Jenna, do you believe in the Niners?
I'm riding with the Niners after seeing that Sunday night game, and I feel like I haven't watched a ton of Niners football this season. Their offense is humming in ways that that game was just beautiful football compared to what we watched in Cleveland earlier in the day last weekend. So I love what San Fran is doing. And if San Fran wins, keep in mind too, they will have home field advantage if they keep winning through the Super Bowl. So just a little interesting nugget there. I do think that they come away with a win here. It'll be a really tight, really high scoring game. I just think it's going to be hard for Seattle to beat them twice in the season too.
Yeah, that would be tough there. Let's move to the Sunday games. Saints at Falcons. The Falcons are 3-point favorites at 1:00. But give me the Saints. I like what Tyler Shuck has been doing. I think that he's been putting some things together. And if Tyler Shuck is balling, I'm rolling with the Saints in this one. Sure, they're 6-10 on the season, but they have won 4 straight against the Buccaneers, Panthers, Jets, and Titans. I think that they finished strong with a 5-game win streak. Give me the Saints.
I'm going with the Falcons. They've been the most confusing team to me this year. And I just, the teams that they beat, I look at it, I'm like, how did they beat the Bills? How did they beat the Rams? Like the teams, some of the teams that they've beat are some of the best in the league at this point in the season. But I am going to mess this up, and I always do this, and I'm like, I don't have the full stat, but there was a stat someone asked on Twitter, like, it feels like whenever the Falcons are mathematically eliminated is when they actually play their best football, and they have an absurd record. I think it was like 12-4. It's something crazy. So give me the Falcons to keep rolling a little bit to finish the season off strong. Kirk Cousins also, I mean, you love it. You love to see it.
Well, we've been splitting on all our picks so far, so everyone should just pick what Jenna's picking. But to your point, the Falcons have won 3 straight against the Buccaneers, Cardinals, and Rams. So, unstoppable force meet the immovable object. But let's go to the Battle of Ohio with 2 teams that are eliminated from the playoffs. The Bengals hosting the Browns. The Bengals are 7.5-point favorites. Give me the Bengals. I know that the Browns pulled off the upset against the Steelers, but they will be in Cincinnati. They won't have the home field advantage, and I think Cincinnati has enough in their passing offense to rip a few things up here.
Yeah, I do too. I like the Bengals in this one. What's the line though? Because wasn't it like 7.5? Am I crazy?
7.5 points.
I feel like the Browns cover. Is that outrageous?
Okay. Not really. I mean, here's the thing. The Bengals defense is bad. And so maybe Shador takes advantage and makes some plays.
Yeah, I think that the Browns defense also, they're going to do everything in their power to get Myles Garrett that sack for the sack record. Oh man, that'll be a fun one. So I like the Bengals to win, but I do think the Browns could cover here.
Absolutely. Let's go to the Cowboys at your New York Football Giants. Regular season finale for both of these teams. Cowboys are 3.5-point favorites on the road. Not a huge spread. I thought this spread would be a bit larger, considering the Giants being 3-13 going into this week. They did beat the Raiders last week. That got cut off what was a 10-game losing streak, I think it was. So it's been pretty rough for the G-Men, and I'm picking the Cowboys. I know they're your boys, Jenna, but I see the Giants having another rough year here.
I agree. I'm picking Dallas as well because Dallas has a competent offense. So give me Dallas. Although I will say, I say that in the fact that I know that the Giants offense did look their best of the season last week. Give me Dallas.
Next up, the Green Bay Packers visit the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are 7.5-point favorites in here, particularly because the Packers have nothing to play for. They've locked themselves in as the 7th seed. They cannot go anywhere else, so they're going to use this as their bye. The Vikings, they don't have much else they can prove. They're 8-8, but they can fight for a winning record at least for Kevin O'Connell, and they are there. And I think they're going to win. I think they're going to be at home. The Packers are going to be taking all the gas off. They're going to be resting all their playmakers. This is not a game that they have to win. And I think the Vikings want to go out with some pride. So give me Minnesota.
Yeah, I like Minnesota here too. And just anytime that there's who's resting their starters and who's not, I'm going with the team that's not. So give me Minnesota in this game.
The Texans, one of the hottest teams in football right now. They have won 8 games straight and 9 out of their last 10. So the Texans, they get to host the Colts, who are mathematically eliminated. The Texans, we didn't peep this. At least I didn't peep this, for many weeks. But I was like, wait a second, they could jump up in the 5 seed, and that's what they did. So if the Steelers beat the Ravens Sunday night. They'll be playing the Texans most likely because this spread is 10.5 points. The Texans are favored over the Colts. Give me the Texans, and I'll even expand that spread a little bit more. I think they're gonna beat up on these Colts pretty bad and head into the playoffs riding high.
Yeah, I think the Texans have been the hottest team in the league right now. That defense is so scary and so monstrous. And if the Steelers do win and end up facing them, that's going to be a insanely tough test. We won't jump ahead of ourselves, though. I like the Texans to beat the Colts this week. They're going to want to go on a roll to continue to head into the postseason here.
Titans at Jaguars. Jaguars also playing to bump themselves up in the standings. They're 12-4 this year. Titans long ago eliminated one of the top picks of the draft this year. Jaguars are 12.5-point favorites. Give me the Jaguars, though. I do think the Titans cover. I do think that they've come in and they become a nuisance for the Jaguars, but give me the Jaguars to win.
Yeah, that's how I feel about this game, too. I think that's just a little bit large of a spread for my liking, but I think the Jags kind of continue to play really the solid, sound football they've been playing for the majority of late. So give me Jacksonville here.
Moving right along, we have an AFC West showdown, the Chiefs at the Raiders. The Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites over the Raiders, and this is a little interesting to me because the Chiefs have been playing terrible. They don't have Patrick Mahomes, of course. They're in a rough spot. But the Raiders have the number 1 overall pick. And it seems like in a year where you have a chance to get that number 1 overall pick, and you look at Fernando Mendoza and how well he's been playing in college football, do you want to get your shot at that guy? It would make sense to me for the Raiders to make sure that they lose this game to hold on to that spot. Not that anyone's tanking, but they are. But give me the Chiefs simply because I don't think the Raiders want to win this game.
I completely agree with you. You have a chance at the number 1 pick. Go get that number 1 pick. I think the Chiefs win this game. I do think it's closer, though. I do think it's close.
Lions at Bears, the team that Jenna says might have been carrying her picks all season. The Bears are 3-point favorites. The Lions are eliminated. They're playing for pride at this point. The Bears, they can't get the 1 seed anymore, but they can at least try to hold on to that 2 seed again while the Eagles are chasing them. So give me the Bears winning this one at home.
Yeah, I agree. I think I love what Chicago's done this season. I love Ben Johnson, just how he's built this, or I shouldn't say just him, but like how they've built this team, the way that he coaches, what he's done for Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams has been throwing some of the best footballs I've seen him throw in his career. It's been so fun over the last couple of weeks to see some of the throws he's made. So I really like the Bears here, and I think they're going to make some noise this postseason too.
Moving right along, we get another week 18 divisional showdown weeks. They all are, but the Chargers at the Broncos. Broncos still have to prove that they can win that 1 seed. They're 13-3. They're at home. They're facing a Chargers team where Justin Herbert is going to be resting. And so with the Chargers, they're saying, hey, we're a wild card team. We'll live with that. We'll get our guys rest. Give me the Broncos, and heck, give me the 12.5 points too, because the Broncos need to put an exclamation point on their work.
Yep, I completely agree. This one feels too easy money for me. Give me the Broncos, and I'll take the points too.
Dolphins at Patriots. Patriots 10.5-point favorites. The Patriots have been pretty dominant. They get a chance if for some reason the Broncos stumble, the Patriots would and the Patriots win. The Patriots would claim the 1 seed there. But because the Broncos beat the Patriots, they have Denver has the tiebreaker. But give me they're playing at the same time, so give me the Patriots to win their game, because they need to put pedal to the metal and make sure that they're running on all cylinders going into the playoffs.
Yeah, New England wants to string together just a nice last little game to put everything together at the end of the season here. So I like the Patriots in this game a lot. The Dolphins, of course, have been the Dolphins.
NFC East battle here. The Commanders at the Eagles. This is the game. This was the NFC Championship game last year, but it won't feel like that as much because the Commanders have fallen off with Jaden Daniels being hurt. But the Eagles are 3.5-point favorites, but they are said to be resting some key starters for this game. So that's going to play a factor into this. But the Commanders have also been pretty poor, and right now they own the 7th pick of the NFL draft. The Eagles, I do think, still want to win this game because I do think there's seeding on the line. If the Bears stumble against the Lions, then they win. They could jump into the 2 seed. That could be really interesting to see if you're the Eagles, because then at that point it's like, hey, as long as we don't run into Seattle, everyone has to go through Philadelphia, and that can be something that you could lean on in the playoffs. Give me Philly. I think they win even with resting some of their starters.
Yeah, I completely agree. It would be different if they were, I think, resting everybody in the way that it sounds like the Chargers are going to. So I like Philly here, and just Washington's backups, unfortunately. The last couple games have not been spectacular.
Cardinals at Rams. Rams are 7.5-point favorites over the Cardinals. Rams, I believe they can't get anything if they win. I
think you're correct in that.
Right, because the Seahawks are 2 games above them, so they're locked out of the division either way. And so right now they're playing, but they're also playing a Cardinals team that is currently in the spot to get the 5th overall pick of the draft. Give me the Rams. I think that the Cardinals want to win this game a bit less than the Rams do.
I agree. I agree with you. And I think the Rams want a little bit of like, hey, let's get back on slightly better footing compared to based on what they did Monday night. So I like LA here.
Finally, the last game before we get to Steelers Ravens is Jets at Bills. The Jets at Bills, 7-point favorites are the Bills at home in this one. The Bills 11-5. Jets also in prime position for a top pick. They have the 3rd overall pick of the draft right now. Give me the Patriots. Give me the Bills. Excuse me. I think that they handle their business heading in. But Josh Allen has been injured, so that could make things a little tricky. So I'll say the Jets cover at least.
That's exactly how I feel, because it does seem, based on reports coming out of Buffalo, that Josh Allen is trending toward resting this weekend. However, this is the final game at Highmark Stadium in Buffalo, so I think the Bills want to go out with a win in this game. I don't think the Jets are going to particularly – I think they'll cover, but I just don't think it's going to be that close. It'll be kind of like a late cover close at the end.
All right. It comes down to Steelers Ravens as the final game of the regular season. We'll talk about that and our predictions next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter with Jenna Harner. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I want to remind you, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the game tips off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited-time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings something new. You get boosts, bonuses, and surprises. It's easy to check the weekly special before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour, only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, Chris Carter here with Jenna Harner of Channel 11 WPXI. Jenna, before we get to our predictions for this game, we talked a lot about the defense in the first segment. Let's talk about the offense. This offense sputtered against the Browns without DK Metcalf. They didn't have the deep threat. Aaron Rodgers kept trying. Marquez Valdez-Scantling couldn't get anything going there. And to me, this team needs to be able to find a way to just they don't need to be, I don't think they're going to be able to be dominant against this Ravens defense without DK Metcalf. He got 148 receiving yards the last time these two teams played. And, but I will say the Ravens defense is not the Browns defense. Though the Ravens themselves are a better team, the Browns defense, with what they can bring heat-wise because of Myles Garrett, poses a different kind of threat. The Steelers' offensive line should be able to protect Aaron Rodgers better in this game. In fact, the Ravens ranked 31st in sacks. This is where I think the Steelers have to be able to give Aaron Rodgers time, and he has to be able to see the openings for guys like Pat Freiermuth, guys like Adam Thielen, guys like Kenneth Gainwell, Jalen Warren. Get the ball to your playmakers. Yes, you're missing DK Metcalf. Darnell Washington's on injured reserve. But Calvin Austin, maybe he's back this week. Get the ball to playmakers, trust that it's there, and get the run game going. Because, again, the Ravens really took away the run the last time. They need to know those two things, and if those two things happen, they can get some offense, and if the defense delivers, that could be your ticket to victory.
That's exactly my key in this one, because I think when you look at the Ravens pass rush compared to the Browns pass rush, it is night and day Cleveland's is by and far better, and clearly in case in point with what Myles Garrett has done this season. So to me, Aaron Rodgers is going to have more time. I think the offensive line has done a really good job of protecting him as much as they can up front. Rodgers himself has taken a couple sacks lately that have been kind of costly, but for the most part, I think the offensive line has looked really good. Now it's going to be a matter of, can Rodgers, like you said, find those open guys? Can they get the ball to Pat Freiermuth in different situations, more than just it's the 2-minute drill and they're driving down the field and trying to create and look what happens? And I know that's been something we've been harping on a lot this season, but to me, that's going to be massive. I think that that's going to be one of the biggest differences in this game, is just the fact that Rodgers is going to have a little bit more time to throw. I feel like when we were watching the first time these two teams met and that first drive the Steelers offense had, you were looking and you're saying, oh my goodness, they have all day here. Rodgers has all day to throw and do what he wants to do. So that's going to be very crucial in this game for me. Is he going to be able to connect with those targets? But again, how many times did the Steelers say, hey, we are confident in so many of the other guys, use the weapons that they have? And I think Rodgers being a little creative at the line, doing some of the improv that we know he does in the situations that he finds to be able to create, I think that's going to be a really massive factor if the Steelers are going to come away victorious this weekend.
I think so. They got to get something going there, and they don't need a 300-yard passing performance from Aaron Rodgers. They need efficiency.
Yeah. You need to be efficient the way that the Dolphins challenged him to be efficient, and he was. You need to see a little bit of that efficiency, because again, I don't think that he's going to be beating the Ravens defense over the top the way that he did in this first matchup. It's going to be taking those smart plays when they're available and having success on third down. They completely faltered. I think they were 3 for 18 on third and fourth downs combined in the Browns game. So to me, if they can just have more efficient drives and can hit on a couple big plays, I think that's going to be give them some breathing room and let the defense kind of really be able to tee off on the other side.
To your point, they were 3 of 15, but they were 0 of 3 on fourth down. So on third and fourth combined, they were 3 of 18. So that's you can't have that and win a football game. That has to be better this time around. The Ravens defense, the 9th-ranked third down defense in the NFL. So that's going to be where some rubber has to meet the road. But to your point, we talked with Aaron Rodgers on Wednesday, and I asked him about what he does to make it so that he doesn't have back-to-back games, and he said, I don't have too many back-to-back stinkers, as he called them, because when you look at Aaron Rodgers' career, when he has a bad game, he usually bounces back from it. And I brought this up earlier in the week, but when he each time that he's gone below 70 as a passer rating, or even below 90 as a passer rating, he has bounced back with at least an efficient game. First time against the Seahawks, 58 passer rating through 2 interceptions. Next week, he throws 2 touchdowns, 96 passer rating. They beat the Patriots. The next time he had a down week was the Chargers game, 50.6 passer rating through 2 interceptions in that one. What does he do the next week? 106.5 passer rating, throws a touchdown, leads a 34-12 win over the Bengals. And then the next time that he had a low passer rating was the Bills, 65 passer rating. Did throw an interception, but had that sack fumble that turned into a touchdown. The Steelers lost badly. The next week, he throws a touchdown, very efficient against the Ravens, and 100.1 passer rating. And of course, last week, 64.9 passer rating against the Browns, no interceptions, but no touchdowns. The Steelers held to 6 points in a loss that could have gotten them the division. So that being said, Aaron Rodgers bounced back each time from his bad games, has a chance to bounce back yet again into it without his top 5 receiver and one of his top tight ends. So that will be interesting to see if he's able to do that down the stretch. So let's get to the picks here. Here, as always, the odds line brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel has the Ravens as 3.5-point favorites. The Ravens money line is minus 184. The Steelers money line plus 154. Over under set at 41.5 points. Jenna, give us your X factor here to the game. What you think controls everything, and give us your final score prediction for Steelers Ravens on Sunday night.
Well, we talked about it in the first segment. The X factor is going to be, can the Steelers stop the run? Can the Steelers stop Derrick Henry? Because Lamar Jackson, knowing he's going to play, I don't think he's at 100% by any means. I think he'd probably say he's closer to 80%. So they're going to look to lean on their run game because that's what's brought them success. So that's going to be the biggest factor. Can the Steelers win in the trenches? Can the Steelers stuff the run? And can they force the Ravens into that crucial mistake? This was really interesting, kind of talking with some people that cover the Ravens pretty regularly and on that beat. The Ravens, their biggest fatal flaw, quote unquote, is when they are in those big moment games, they make the big mistakes. And the Steelers, how many times have we seen they've been able to force that big mistake, whether it's forcing Lamar you have a TJ Watt or Alex Highsmith strip sack. You have Nick Herbig it was Deshaun Elliott last year. Obviously he's not in, but
forcing most turnovers in the NFL, to your point.
Yep. So forcing that big turnover is going to be key. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think the turning point in this game is it's going to be a very close game. It's going to be a 3-point game consistently. The Steelers defense is going to force that big second half turnover. Whether I think they're going to score. I think it's going to be a Steelers defensive touchdown.
That's your bold prediction.
That's my bold prediction. So I think the Steelers win this game. It's going to be a rock fight. It's going to be like a 23-20 game. I think the Steelers come away victorious, and I think being at home is a massive factor in this game too.
Well, there you have it. The Steelers going to win for Jenna Harner. So if the picks have been, Jenna Harner said it. It's going to happen. And to seal it here, I think I have to do the thing that would make the most sense is when I pick against Jenna Harner, the opposite happens. So I've got to pick the Ravens to beat the Steelers. They're going to blow them out 30-3. They're going to run right over them. It's going to be so bad. And then if it doesn't happen, those who've been following the show know I have my bag of shame that I will wear Sunday night Sunday night going into Monday for a victory Monday if the Steelers are to win. But I'm doing my part because a lot of people say whenever Chris picks against the Steelers, it's a good thing because they seem to win a lot when I do. So I'm going to chip in every energy I have to get it. And if I'm wearing the bag of shame on Monday, so be it. But there you have it. Jenna picks the Steelers. I picked the Ravens. And that is your final pick of the regular season here in the Locked On Steelers podcast. But will it happen? We'll talk about that. I agree with you. The X factor is stopping Derrick Henry and stopping Lamar Jackson. Do not let the run game by any means come down to, hey, throw it to Zay Flowers against Joey Porter Jr., who, by the way, has not allowed a single touchdown this year and has the longest string of plays on the field by a cornerback without allowing a touchdown reception in the NFL. That if they do that and Aaron Rodgers just finds enough holes in the Ravens defense, and that I agree, defensive score, watch out for that this week. The Steelers find a way to advance. But of course, I'm picking the Ravens. I don't think it's going to happen. So there you have it. But Jenna, thank you so much for joining us here all season long. If the Steelers win Sunday, and you're right, we would love to have you back next week, getting you ready for a playoff game at Acrisure Stadium. Let people know they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Jenna Harner 11, Instagram, Jenna_Harner, locally, WPXI. The game, of course, on Sunday Night Football is on our station this week. So tune in pregame at 6:30 p.m. to WPXI. Or if you're not in the Pittsburgh viewing area and you still want to watch, you can watch on the website or our app. I had a really awesome sit down with Alex Highsmith earlier this week, just kind of talking about everything that goes into this game and what's going to be so key. And he had a really awesome quote I'll let you tune in to see, but it was about wanting to be part of the history of this rivalry and why it's so important to him to do that. So tune in for that. 6:30. We'll also have live post game too. So see you Sunday night on Channel 11.
Absolutely. Look for the great work that they do on Channel 11. Thank you, Jenna, for joining us here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. And thank you all for joining us here all season long on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, wherever you get social media. My handle is always at Carter Critiques. You can read my work in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette by going to post-gazette.com. I have my quarter-century Steelers team that went out Thursday, so go check out who made it from 2001 to 2025 on my all-Steelers 53-man roster. And of course, I'll have a breakdown in the Post-Gazette for this game coming down the weekend, so stay tuned for that. But of course, stay locked in here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. We are every day, Monday through Friday, on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. We also have the Locked On Steelers Squad Show, which will come on right after this game. Shout out to Tyler Feldman, Wayne Gandy, Ben Bobek, our crew there. They do an amazing job. I'll try to hop in if I can, but I'll be at the stadium, so who knows what will happen. We'll get it all here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Tune back in after the game Sunday night to get all of our reactions to what happened Steelers Ravens. Keep it here with the Locked On Steelers podcast.